What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bronx Pinstripes show. We've got Scott is absent today. He's still in the process of moving, so he's got a lot of stuff going on. Joined by Nick Kirby of George's Box on the first football Sunday / rain delay Yankees. What's up, Nick?
Andrew, it's good to be with you. I don't think I've been on this show since pre-pandemic.
Wow,
I think it's been that long. Yeah.
Just like a lot of things, the pandemic just warps time, and
yes, exactly.
Things go by, and who the hell knows what happened? Well, happy to have you back. How you feeling about this team?
Man, it's really been a tale of two seasons, right? I mean, first half of the season, I was on top of the world. I was pounding my chest to anybody who would listen, and then the second half's been a free fall. It's crazy that we're even in this position of like sweating out the division. I mean, who would have thought in June that we'd be having this conversation first football Sunday?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, that in and of itself is kind of a failure that they're having to fight for their playoff lives. I think there's kind of been they're few and far between. Usually, like, Yankees fans are pretty split down the middle on like one camp versus the other. But there's still a small subsect that's like, well, the injuries, like this team couldn't possibly overcome all of these injuries. And like right now, the lineups that they're trotting out there are basically junior varsity level lineups, so I get that. But for the longest time, this team struggled after the All-Star break when they still had plenty of healthy bodies to be winning games, and they just weren't winning. So had they just gone 500 in the second half of July and August, when they still should have been good enough to do that, we wouldn't be in this position. That's I guess a moot point at this time. We're currently in the rain delay on Sunday, and I don't know about you, I hope this thing gets rained out because they don't have any mutual off days with the Rays for the rest of the season, which does complicate things. But what I think that means is the game would be played after the season if necessary. And so basically punting this game down the road, I think, helps the Yankees, because you're in a situation where in the rubber game today against Tampa, if the Rays win, they're 3.5 in the standings, but 2 in the loss column with 3 weeks to play. So that's a huge difference than where they are now. Or obviously, best case scenario would be the Yankees win today. But again, I think moving this game down the road, not the worst thing.
Oh, yeah, and at a very basic level, we're the hunted right now, so we want less games. The Rays are hunting us, so they want more games. So, yeah, basic math, plus we clinched the tiebreaker yesterday. So if we do finish with the same record, the Yankees will win the division. I mean, it still looks pretty good. I think Fangraphs has us at like 85% chance to win the division, but like, man, it should be 100. It should be 100 at this point.
I know, the 85%. I mean, obviously, that's based on a lot of different factors. The Rays have a very difficult schedule the rest of the way. They play 8 against Toronto, 6 against Houston, and then some other crappy teams. And the Yankees have a pretty easy schedule. I mean, Toronto's the hardest team on the calendar after the Rays. 6 against Boston. I mean, it's never going to be easy against Boston, but you should win 4 out of those 6 easy, minimum, bare minimum.
Oh, definitely. I think we get the Pirates at home for 2. There's definitely some soft landing spots in there, and then they get Baltimore, I think, at home towards the end of the season, and then they end. I think they end with Texas, the Rangers. Yeah,
four in 3 days in Texas. Which, if there's a scenario where today gets rained out, and that game needs to be played at the end of the year, they could be playing 5 games in 4 days, probably 4 against Texas, 1 against Tampa. So that is worst case scenario. So I understand it's like just find a couple hours on Sunday afternoon to play this game, like even if it's 5 innings. But man, you lose if they were to play today and they lose. Now, obviously, as people are listening to this, they already know what happened. So maybe I'm already recording 5 minutes later on, like talking about how this team blew the game today or whatever. But I mean, I hope that after the lifeless performance on Friday, after the Jeter ceremony, that maybe something woke up on Saturday with that first inning rally. Like, that was like unlike anything we'd seen pretty much since the first half. 7 base hits in a row. Like, this team hasn't done that in as long as I can remember.
Yeah, it had been a while. It seems like Donaldson kind of gave them a boost coming back from the paternity list, even though he sucked for most of the year. And then Stanton finally woke up a little bit, that he was, health after pinch hitting 2 nights in a row. He was healthy enough to start, which was great. He ends up hitting the home run off the position player. But yeah, everything about that first inning was perfect, other than Donaldson trying to pimp that 310-foot fly ball that bounced off the wall.
It's the third time he's done that this year, right? The first one was the worst. It didn't even hit the wall. It just landed on the warning track. I forget who it was against, but it was to right center. And it was like a legitimate warning track. And the outfielder just like didn't play it right. It should have been a fly out to the warning track.
And dude, the pimping of the home runs, I think you should only pimp a home run if it's one of those Judge or Stanton ones where it's, 400 plus. You know off the bat that it's going out. The fact that they're even pimping these borderline ones, I mean, that's a whole nother discussion. And then he did it again. What was it, the 7th inning? He actually did hit a homer, and it was like a clear porch job, row 1 right field, and he did it again. So they're clearly not learning their lessons on pimping home runs.
What do you think they should do? Because Donaldson's coming back, obviously, at the big day yesterday. But you're right. He's offensively has sucked for most of the season. I'm at the point where I just want to see them play Peraza at short and give him a chance. And then you move DJ and Rizzo's injuries complicate things, like depending on what they need to do at first base. But IKF and Donaldson at third for at least the next couple weeks to give Peraza a shot.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to see Peraza. You called him up. He's played, two games? Donaldson's been great defensively, but he's been terrible at the plate. I mean, in an ideal world, I wouldn't mind DJ at third, Peraza at short, Glaber at second, Rizzo at first in an ideal world if they're all healthy.
Yeah, everyone healthy, I guess. That would probably be... Do you think if everyone's healthy and all things are equal, that's the playoff lineup?
Nah, I think they love Donaldson's defense at third. I think Donaldson's going to play.
So it would be Donaldson at third, and I do think, I mean, unless Peraza just lights up the world for the rest of the season, I think IKF's getting the start at shortstop.
Yes.
But so what do you do with DJ if he's healthy?
I think Glaber is the one that would be the odd man.
Yeah,
out.
I guess
really
he's been bad
in
too.
the playoffs.
And
he's been bad for 3 years at this point.
Well, he had a good first half.
I'm tired of people defending him. Yeah.
I mean, he did actually have a good first half. That's the frustrating thing. It's like we were talking at the All-Star break, like, oh, Glaber looks like he's back on track. I think he had, Logan, can you check this? Like an 800, low 800 OPS in the first half. Like, as a second baseman, that's fucking good, okay?
Yeah.
And so he has an 800 OPS, and then he's got like a 550 OPS since. It's like, what happened? This is not the same person.
The ups and downs, the mental lapses. To me, it all goes back to where he mentally he couldn't hit if he was playing shortstop, but he could if he was playing second. I just think he has these mental lapses. He doesn't always hustle. I know he had a good first half, but his OBP, I believe, is under 300. I'm just kind of done with him. And the fall from number 1 prospect in baseball, 38 home runs in 2019 to this, it's just been stunning, quite frankly.
It's not the first. He's not the only player to have regressed severely in the last couple of years. So we got some stats on Glaber in the first half. 809 OPS in the first half, 325 OBP, 268 batting average. Like that's a good offensive first half. I mean, especially considering I think OPS league average is somewhere in like the mid 700s. So he's, 50, 60 points better than league average. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see the Yankees being done with Glaber, but I think you're right that assuming health, he's probably the odd man out. And I don't really know then what much value he can provide you off the bench. Like a couple pinch hitting opportunities. Like he's not going to go in for defense.
No, and they're really prioritizing defense more than ever. You saw it with the Donaldson trade, the Bader trade. Like Cashman's always talking about defense. Even the IKF trade was supposed to help the defense. It seems like they're really prioritizing defense. So everything else being equal, that's why I think DJ and Donaldson would play ahead of GT in the playoffs.
Yeah, but like the injuries on DJ and Rizzo, I almost feel like they're not getting enough attention. Especially Rizzo, like something I saw an update from Meredith. He had a blood patch or something yesterday or 2 days ago.
From the epidural?
Yeah. So he's got an epidural on your back, which I legitimately thought they only give to pregnant women. And then he's got migraines from the epidural, I think. It's like, what the hell is going on with this guy?
Yeah, it's really spiraled. He's had a weird year. He was on fire in the beginning, hitting all those bombs. And he still, in the second half, was hitting big home runs and playing great defense, but he wasn't getting as many hits. He's down to around 220. It went from, he's definitely going to opt out and get paid to, will he even opt out now? Like, I have no idea what's going to happen with him.
Yeah, I mean, that'll be interesting, right? Like, I think if he doesn't come back, he's not opting out because, health is a serious problem for him.
Right.
It's like if Scott and I have talked about this, I think we talked about it in the last episode. If you don't get some combination of DJ, Rizzo, Stanton back on track, to protect Judge in the playoffs. He's legitimately not going to see a strike in the postseason.
No, he's not going to get anything to hit.
It's like why I don't understand why teams are even throwing him strike. You got Aaron Hicks batting third behind him on Friday. It's like, well, if you're a pitcher, or maybe Judge was leading off on Friday, I don't even remember. But it's like there's really nothing around him in the lineup. I know some guys have had some big hits over the past couple days. IKF had the grand slam. Glaber had the game tying home run against Minnesota. But like, what are you doing throwing Judge strike?
No, especially like you said, when it's Hicks 3, IKF 4. What are you doing? I mean, the Twins were pretty conservative and scared of him, Baldelli, but the Rays, I don't think they've intentionally walked him at all. They've been pretty aggressive, Kevin Cashin, going after him, and he's mostly hit. Judge has like a bunch of singles this Rays series.
Hitting 500. I think I saw he's hitting 500 in his last like 20 at bats or something, or like 18.
Triple Crown watch. He's up to like 308.
Right? Imagine that. He drops a Triple Crown with 60 bombs on Hal and Steinbrenner, on Hal and Cashman's ass after the contract debacle. That would be an all-time nuts on the table performance if he does that.
Oh, absolutely. And look, I don't want to have to overpay him, but it is kind of nice to see Cashman have to like picturing Brian Cashman right now privately, like if I could be a fly on the wall every time Judge hits a home run, like, man, I would love to see that, because just the way Cashman went about it was very arrogant, announcing the terms on opening day. I'm still pissed at Cashman about the Hicks contract and a bevy of other things, so it does give me a little bit of joy, like picturing him squirm.
I want Judge to obviously win. I want him to win everything, right? Triple Crown, MVP, home run title, like frick it, like break Bonds' record. It does, like, I know that's out of the question at this point, but whatever. I just want to see him set all these records and then watch Levine try and talk his way around why the Yankees are not going to offer him the biggest contract on the free agent market. Like, part of me, obviously I want Judge to be a Yankee for the next 10 years, but like part of me wants to just see how they spin that.
Yeah, he would be talking around in circles like a lawyer. And you know what really this reminds me of is 07 with A-Rod, where he had this monster season, lapping the field. I mean, that was his MVP year. I think he hit around 55 bombs and he hit 300. And it was like they had no choice but to re-sign him. But at the same time, you're like, man, this is going to hurt at the end. And it did hurt in the end. And I feel like we're there with Judge, where it's almost a no-win situation at this point. We're either going to be screwed and not have him in the lineup next year, or we're going to have him when he's 40, making $40 million a year. I don't know what you think about that.
They don't have a choice at this point.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's not going to be a great player when he's 40 years old. No one is, right? Let me rephrase. He's not going to be worth $40 million a year when he's 40 years old, right? He might still be a productive offensive player, maybe a DH or whatever, but like no one at the end, like the Trout contract is going to be a disaster at the end. Like all of these contracts that take players into their late 30s, early 40s are always disasters. The Cole contract is going to be a disaster at the end.
Yeah.
But like the Yankees have no choice. The thing that is concerning is if they completely fizzle out this year and get bounced in the first round of the playoffs and really just look lifeless, I think there's probably an argument from the Steinbrenner side to be made towards Cashman. It's like, well, like one Judge signing is not going to change this. Like we have all these other problems, like this roster set records in the first half, and then where was it in the second half? Like you need to overhaul this roster. And it's like, okay, at that point, then if Judge walks and you're rebuilding this team, you still have all these big contracts on the books. You still have Stanton forever. You still have Garrett Cole forever. Like you said, Aaron Hicks, I think 3 more years. Three?
Oh God! And DJ, they have a commitment. Yeah. I mean, at least 4 more. Yeah.
So they really are in a position of they don't have a choice, and Judge has all the leverage in the world to get as much money as he possibly can out of the Yankees. And I do want them to sign him, because without Judge, this team is we like, come on. What is this lineup without Aaron Judge?
Unwatchable is the answer.
Especially the past 2 weeks. Like he single-handedly kept the lineup afloat last weekend in Tampa.
He's the only reason to watch the past 2 months, if we're being honest.
Yeah. Yeah, and Logan, you just made a good point in chat. Like Cole could be pitching well when he's 40, because you got Scherzer and Verlander pitching well into their late 30s, early 40s. I'm not 100% confident in Garrett Cole pitching late into his 30s. But, I guess that is an argument to be made that pitchers have a better track record at pitching at an elite level than position players do at performing at elite levels later into their contracts. Sure, I get that.
Yeah, I'd be much more concerned about Judge. And is there a number, like in these, I know you say you have to keep him, we have no choice, but is there a number where you'd walk away 310, 320, 330? Like, what is the point for you where it's like, it's not worth it?
I mean, obviously there's a number, right? So he's going to be 31. He's 31 now, right? So
he'll be 31 in April. So he's 30 now.
Okay.
So, but for next year is his 31 season. Yeah.
I would say if he wants a 10-year contract, I'm probably giving it to him. But that's when the conversation I'm like teetering, right? Like I'm trying to lock him in at 8 or 9 years, and I'll overpay him AAV for 8 years. They offered him 7 at $30.5 million. Like at this point, it seems like it should have been 7 at $40.5 million, not $30.5 million, right? So it's like if you can get him for 8 years and 38 or 40 million, like that would be the best case scenario. I'm probably saying no if he's like, I want 10 years or more.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm going 320 over 8 or 9, and that's where I'll land. Like anything more than 8 years and 40 a year. If he wants, I mean, Cole got 324. If he wants anything more than 320 or 330, I'd say good luck. I'm going to do everything I can to sign him, but I think at the same time you have to have some discipline. I mean, paying him through 38, I can swallow, but that 39 and 40, I mean, it's just brutal.
And how would that line up with the Stanton contract?
Stanton has 5 more after this, I believe.
That's it?
Yeah, but remember, Stanton's cap hit would be like half of that. I think his cap hit's only like 22,
well, because the Marlins are
paying
paying a chunk of it.
Yeah, so it's not as big of a deal as it would be for Judge with 40. I mean, that's almost
so
double.
So they really need to decide. They need to believe that Judge can play the outfield for the next 5 years while Stanton's still on the roster, and then move him to DH for the back half of that contract.
And then he's a $40 million DH. Ugh.
Last year of Stanton is 2027, so that's 5 more. That's 5 more seasons, right? After this year.
Yeah. Yep.
So Judge,
seems like they always have some old overpaid guy clogging up the DH spot. It's just the Yankee way.
Well, I mean, the Red Sox had that, and it worked out pretty well for him.
Yes.
So Stanton's DH, and then you just move Judge into that spot, I guess.
I guess, and it seems like Stanton's done in the outfield at least for this year.
Which I get, like he's definitely not healthy anymore. But you saw the difference in Stanton when he was playing the outfield on a semi-regular basis. Like even in the first half, right? He was an all-star. I didn't think it was the best first half that Stanton like could have possibly had, but he had like a weird season where he was having like an unbelievable season in high leverage spots. I think his OPS was like 9 something or 1,000 in high leverage spots. So he was coming in clutch. And the biggest thing he was doing is backing up Judge and Rizzo.
Yeah, and the funny thing about Stan, at least in the first half, it'd be like I remember there was a 2-week stretch where he only had 8 hits, but they were all home runs. Like he wasn't getting a lot of hits, but every time he got a hit, it was a home run. He'll still end up hitting 30 bombs. I think he's at 25 or 26, but he's almost at 210. Like his average has just plummeted.
Yeah. Yeah, which honestly, like the fact that batting averages are so shit around the league, and even guys that you think should have good batting averages, like Rizzo was hitting like 220 on the season, and Judge is hitting 307 right now, like just goes to show you how on another level he has been.
It is. When I saw that he was even in the Triple Crown conversation, I was like, what? He's only hitting 306. How is that enough to lead the league in hitting? But yeah, it's been a weird year. I think DJ was around 275 at a point, and I think he was like top 10 in the AL in batting average. But you had talked about DJ's injury earlier. I'm much more concerned about that than Rizzo. Since he's hurt that toe, I haven't really seen him even hit a ball to the outfield. Yeah. I mean, that has completely sapped his power. And he was another guy like Glaber who was great in the first half and has just been a corpse in the second half here. I'm pretty concerned about him.
I'm blaming that on injuries though for DJ.
Yeah,
like, he's clearly not healthy. So I don't know. I don't know. What is the injury update on DJ? Do we have?
Said he's maybe activities next week and then come back for like the Pirates homestand, which is maybe the 20th, like a week and a half from now.
Okay. So
that's his goal. Yeah.
And that's 2 weeks before the season ends, right?
Yeah. So him and basically the same time as Bader, I think, because Bader started a rehab today.
Well, I saw that they moved Bader and Chapman and Castro to Somerset for rehabs. And then Britton also going to Somerset for rehab or something.
Yeah, how many assignments does Britton need? I feel like he's already pitched in 5 or 6 minor league games. When is he coming back?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's coming back from Tommy John surgery.
It's true.
Like, I'm sure they have a roadmap for him, and he's got to stay on track. But like, they have nothing to lose with Britton. If he comes back and throws one pitch and his elbow explodes, it's like, well, you're a free agent anyway. So this was your choice, buddy.
Nothing to lose.
All right, let's talk about the Aaron Hicks debacle. Just completely spitting in Derek Jeter's face on Friday night. This is now 2 for 2. I don't know if you remember this, way back in 2017 when the last time the Yankees had a Derek Jeter ceremony. We
were both there, I believe.
Were we? No, I wasn't at. I wasn't at the game.
Jack was there. I was there, and Jack was there.
So Tanaka started. It was against the Astros, and he got his face pummeled. I think he gave up like 4 home runs in 2 innings after the Jeter ceremony. And then Friday, after the Jeter ceremony, which we're going to talk about, the team just looked absolutely lifeless. And Hicks is I don't even know what to call it. Like, I don't think Hicks is a dog, meaning he's going to not try. Like, that's not the type of player I think Hicks is. I legitimately think he just thought that ball was foul, and so he like was pissed he didn't catch it and put his head down. But to have a lack of awareness where you didn't realize you were even close to fair territory, like, and just like pick the ball up immediately, throw it in just in case, that's the problem here.
Exactly. And if you think about Yankee Stadium, there's 2 feet, but maybe a foot between the foul line and the stands. Like, if you're near there, you have to know there's at least a chance. And I don't know how you were brought up, but I was, unless I am 100% sure that a ball is out of play or time has been called, just chase after the ball and toss it in, even if you're not sure. I do that when I'm playing softball and I'm not sure if it's fair or foul. Like, come on, dude. And he does. I mean, you've seen it. He jogs after the ball sometimes in blowouts. Like, I can question his effort a little bit. I don't think he has a high motor. And then the next play was kind of tough.
That's a tough play.
Was it Arozarena? But I mean, it was just at that point, the fate was sealed.
Cohn, I think, said that one had like a 20% catch probability or something like that. So, but like, obviously, if that play just happened without the first play, no one cares that he missed that ball. Like that's a line drive that Montes, gave up there. But the pop up down the left field line needs to be caught. And I actually give Boone credit for pulling him out of the game. Like, you have to bench him. I mean, I would have pulled him mid-inning, but like, obviously that's not Boone. He's not going to pull a Billy Martin and just get in a fist fight with someone on the field. But like, Hicks knew he fucked up. Like, yeah, you deserve to sit. Honestly, he doesn't deserve to play anymore. He's been one of the least productive players on this team. What is he adding? What does Aaron Hicks bring to you that Florial can't, or Miguel Andujar in left field can't? Like, none of them are going to be great, but like, Hicks doesn't give you anything really.
It's pathetic. I mean, his best skill, I guess, is knowing which pitches not to swing at. His pitch recognition. I mean, great.
That is a skill.
Great skill to have.
That is a skill.
And he's got, even for an outfielder, he doesn't have speed. He has no power. Yeah, he brings nothing. Terrible bat to ball skills. That contract never made sense. There was nobody else lining up to pay Aaron Hicks. The fact that they guaranteed him 7 years is atrocious. Hoping they can find a way to unload him. But that was really the first time that you saw Boone show some accountability. Like, there have been times where other guys haven't hustled and made big time mistakes and he's just kind of let it slide. It was really refreshing to see him actually take action.
Why do you think he took action?
I think part of it clearly was he thought somebody was maybe going to throw something at Hicks. The fans were going nuts.
Yes. I think if that game's on the road, I don't know that Hicks gets pulled.
Or if he's in center field and, like, obviously there's no fans where Monument Park is, but when you're in left field or right field at Yankee Stadium, the fans are on top of you. So it was kind of a perfect storm.
That place was fired up, okay? Because the Jeter ceremony happened. Hal Steinbrenner got booed while being announced for giving $222,000 to charity. Imagine being so disliked that you get booed when you give money to charity, okay? So that's the type of boozed up and fired up that Yankee Stadium was on Friday night. Cashman gets booed when Jeter thanks him, and Jeter tells him not to boo. You know what, Jeter? We love you. We're going to fucking boo, okay? And then Hicks drops that ball, and the place is going bonkers. That's why he got pulled from the game. Boone knew he needed to do something, or else the place was going to turn.
Probably a safety issue. And when they asked Boone, I think his exact quote was, "I just felt like I had to get him out of there at that point. Like, get him away from the Wolves or the Crocodiles or whatever's going to eat him." And we both know Friday night games have the most juice Jeter ceremony or not, even compared to Saturday, Sunday, any other day, the Friday night crowds are always the loudest. And yeah, they sold out. I mean, I think there were 40, 48, 49,000.
Of course, they're going to sell out for that. I mean, yeah, the Friday night crowd is mostly like people like us, like coming from work, just want to have some beer and scream. Like that's what we want. That's what we want to do on a Friday night.
Precisely.
It's like on a Saturday, like you got families there. Sunday is like the most tame of the weekend games, but yeah, for sure. Couple quotes after the game. Yeah, like you said, Boone said he just felt like he needed to do something. I put a Hicks quote in here. I got benched during the game. That's rough, especially when all you want to do is produce for your team. It is what it is. I just have to prepare for tomorrow. So like, I do believe Hicks wants to contribute to the team. Like I really do think Hicks is probably liked in that clubhouse. I do not think he's a bad teammate. I don't think you said he's got some, you question his effort a little bit. Like in general, I think Hicks is giving a good effort but like it's just been a completely disastrous season for him. I think we at some point on the show this year we pulled out the numbers. He had like a hot 19 game stretch in July. If you pull out that 19 games, he's like the worst offensive player in baseball this year. Like Joey Gallo with the Yankees level bad. Like that's how unproductive he's been.
It's been terrible, and I don't have his OBP in front of me, but he's not even walking anymore, really. Like that was the one thing that you could always count on. Oh, well, he'll get his walks, but like when he gets those close 3-2 pitches, he's swinging and missing, or he's popping them up instead of taking them for ball 4. That was kind of his last saving grace. It's been so rough, and again, they're going to be trying to unload that deal in the offseason. But look, he wasn't supposed to play, right? Benintendi was supposed to take that spot. Very unfortunate. That's the only reason he's out there.
They did chant Joey Gallo at him and left after he dropped that. That's a tough look. So, yeah, I mean, obviously the Benintendi injury, like Benintendi makes that catch like all day long down the left field line. Yes. Yeah, if Benintendi can't come back, which, obviously is a question, Hicks is going to be on the playoff roster because you don't really have a choice. And the outfield will be interesting what they do. Like, he's going to get playing time. Like, you have no choice.
Yeah. I'd rather have Cabrera out there, man.
Yes. Yeah. But it's not going to I mean, I don't know. But then you got Judge in center. You got Cabrera in right. Who plays left field?
I guess if Stan's not an outfield option, you have to have Hicks. I was going to say maybe, could you go Judge in center, Stanton in right, and Cabrera in left? I don't know if he's ever even played left before, but he seems like a guy that'll just play any position, so screw it.
If Stanton can play the outfield, you got to at least do that a game or two in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And then I guess you could DH DJ. Maybe that's not a bad thing if his toe is not 100%. You get DJ DH time to like keep him off his feet a little bit or something. I don't know.
And there's Carpenter. Where does if he can come back, he could slot in. He could play a little right.
If Carpenter can play, then you do that. Yeah, maybe they would put Cabrera in left field. I mean, Yankee Stadium left field is a lot tougher than right field. So that's probably why they're not doing that. Although he did get some reps at first base the other day. I saw someone tweet.
He's just a put me in coach kind of guy. He's one of those old school, I'll play anywhere. I mean, I think between Benintendi and Carpenter, we need to get one of them back to have any kind of shot to make a run. Like one of those guys has to be playing on October 10th.
I mean, Benintendi's more important than Carpenter.
Yes.
I mean,
look, dude, look at their record since Carpenter went down. Man. I know. It was pretty important.
I know. And Carpenter had an unprecedented run with the Yankees, okay? Historically good. But if we're just like being honest, like you need Benintendi, a healthy Benintendi is much more crucial to this team's playoff success than Carpenter playing a pretty bad right field and giving you good at bats, right? Like if you could put Benintendi out there, both is ideal. But if you just got to pick one, I'm picking Benintendi.
Yeah. Did you like the Jeter ceremony, like what he said and the whole layout of that? Or
yeah,
were you
I mean, I think these ceremonies have jumped the shark at this point. Like there's just been so many of them in the past 5-6 years from the core four, like everyone getting a ceremony and a number retired. I'm the biggest Paul O'Neill fan in the world. I like that he got his number retired solely because everyone else got their number retired. Like, and if you're going to retire everyone, then O'Neill should be included there. But, like, it kind of waters down when then you do a ceremony for Jeter or Mariano, and it's like, well, this is the same thing. Like, it's the same people there for all of these ceremonies. It's just like it's getting a little tiresome.
Yeah, I have big time burnout. I mean, if you remember, we had the Mariano farewell tour and the Jeter farewell tour back to back, and those were my junior and senior year of college. And I just spent every night, the celebration. Like, I just got emotionally burnt out of these ceremonies and celebrating the past. Like, I want to celebrate something today. And like you said, so there was the Jeter Day. The last year he was playing, 2014, I went to that. Then I went to the one in 2017 where Tanaka got bombed. Like, how many times are we gonna do this? You know what I mean?
I mean, it is, I think, cool because he hadn't really. I mean, when he was with the Marlins, he basically kind of ignored the Yankees.
That was weird. Yeah.
I mean, I partially get it, right? Like, he wants to be respectful to the Marlins a little bit. And now that he's not with the Marlins anymore, like, I think Cone called this his, like, welcoming home party or whatever. And I mean, his speech was good. I mean, it was short and sweet, kind of like what else are you expecting from Jeter?
Right. He wasn't going to say anything groundbreaking.
Yeah, I mean, he even said, he's like, I don't know what else I can say to you people. Like, I've pretty much said everything I can. The funniest part was when he was just like, you all better cheer. I guess you're ready for the playoff run. Like, that was obviously ad-libbed, but like.
Yeah, it was funny.
Because it's interesting because, like, I don't know. I'm assuming you watched the Jeter ESPN documentary.
Yes, yeah.
We did like a recap episode for it, and the Cashman Jeter dynamic. I think it was interesting. Like, he talked about how he didn't like him, especially towards the end, like being publicly devalued and stuff like that. Which we just talked about how he did that kind of to Judge, where he gets out there and says the contract. Yeah. I think he's come around on Cashman. I think he has said, like, he probably realizes now, being on the other side of it in front office, like, that he understands it from the other perspective. But I did find it interesting, like, he's telling the fans to cheer Brian Cashman when we just watched a documentary of him where he said, I don't like Brian Cashman.
There was some irony, and I didn't realize their beef or their tension started when he was in arbitration in, what was it, 98 or 99? Like, that, it was like episode 2 or 3 of the series. I thought it kind of started in 2010 with that whole negotiation, but it seemed like it was something that brewed for a while over time. It wasn't just something that was at the end. Okay,
so Logan, you did just correct me. He said to cheer Hal, not Cashman.
I took it because he said don't boo, trust me, and I took that as, like, you guys have no idea what ownership that doesn't spend does.
That's
like,
a good
comparing
point.
It to Miami, kind of a shot. And then when they booed Cashman, he said, "Oh, you guys are really ready for the playoffs, aren't you?"
You're right.
So he defended Hal, but not Cash.
Basically, yeah.
That's it. Okay, I had it mixed up, but that actually makes a lot more sense because he was working for owners that weren't willing to, like, go in and spend money.
Yes.
And he was more in the position of he was president or he was CEO of the Marlins or whatever it was. So okay, I guess that makes more sense from that point.
Yeah, and if you notice at every single one of these ceremonies, the first thing they do is they say, I want to thank the Steinbrenner family. I don't know if that's like a mandatory line that they make them put in, but every single time somebody comes back, they always say that.
Yeah, they know who signs the checks, okay? They know who is paying the bills. It is the Steinbrenners. Did you see the A-Rod Instagram was this after the ceremony? He posted
I think he was right doing it.
During the ceremony, he's wearing a tuxedo with the quote, all dressed up with nowhere to go.
Oh, man. So he was bitter about not being invited, clearly.
I mean, he's got to know he's not going to get invited.
Mariano liked the picture, too, which is just absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, Mariano's on there in the back, just liking Instagram photos. Yeah, I mean, I'm not. We can't. We talked to death the A-Rod and Jeter thing during the documentary.
Yeah.
But I mean, come on, he's not going to get invited to that. Like, they don't like each other. They're not friends. Let's stop trying to pretend they're okay. They're not.
Yeah.
Like, let's just move on.
They're not. They're not, but I did think it was interesting. So usually at these things, it's only the homegrown guys that get the nod. And CeCe got the nod for this one, who is not a homegrown guy. I did notice that. I don't know if you did.
Yeah. I think because Jeter, do you think Jeter had a say in who gets invited?
I'm sure he got to at least check off the final list.
Yeah, so I think Jeter probably understood CeCe Sabathia's importance to the Yankees 09 championship. I'm not even just talking about on the field. I'm talking about in the clubhouse and leadership off the field. He talked about in the documentary how when CeCe came in, he took people out to dinner, and he was really important. He put importance on bonding the team together. So I think Jeter probably respects that immensely, and that's probably a reason why he wanted him invited. Also, CeCe's still fringe associated with the Yankees and
local. He still lives in North Jersey, right? Yeah.
Tino. It was Tino, CeCe, Joe Torre, the core four, and was that it? Anyone missing?
Was Bernie? Bernie wasn't there, was he?
I don't think Bernie was there.
I don't think he was. Yeah.
Bernie was there for the O'Neill one, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was.
Yeah, I mean, it was fine. It was a good ceremony. This is probably going to be the last one in a while, though.
Yeah, me and Jack always talk about this, who's left. They've kind of gone through everybody. Jorge's done. Andy's
next.
done.
You know who's next?
CeCe?
No.
A-Rod?
No.
I give up.
Brett Gardner.
Oh, no. Stop it. I was like, who is he going to say? No way. There's no way. No
you're
way.
right. Yes, CeCe might be next. I could see CeCe getting something in a couple years.
He'll get his number retired. He's done enough. But other than that, there's really nobody that has the resume at this point. See, I thought they were going to save some of these for maybe some upcoming lean years, but they kind of pumped them all out the past 2 or 3 years.
They were so 2017 had a couple of them. And obviously 17 was a great season, but it wasn't expected to be a great season.
No.
And I think they scheduled a lot of them in 2017. I believe Andy Pettitte and Jorge Posada were in 2017, in addition to the Jeter one, or there was Jeter and one other one.
I think Andy and Jorge were back to back in 15. I want to say.
Oh, that was
I was
15?
at one of them. Yeah, and then Jeter was 17. I forget who, but there were others, and I think Tino might have been 17 with Jeter, maybe.
Okay, and then you had the 96th anniversary in 2016.
Yes.
Which I was at. I think we were all at. Were we all at that?
Was that one of those 100-degree?
Yeah, it might have been.
Days.
And then and then 17, and then they obviously, when the team was expected to win, they had them fewer and far between. So what you're saying is, if Aaron Judge leaves in free agency next season, we've got CeCe Sabathia Day, we've got Brett Gardner Day, we've got Enrique Wilson Day. We've got a lot coming up next year.
Ronald Torres Day. Yeah, no, it'd be
the Toe Night Show.
It'd be bleak.
Yeah. Anything else that we didn't really touch? I mean, again, I guess any update, Logan, on the game?
So last I saw that they're having a meeting right now. They said everybody involved, umpires and both teams, about a possible start time. I do want to add to that, because if we don't record, the game is only made up if the Yankees are one game back of the Rays, because they hold the tiebreaker. So if the Yankees are tied, cool, they don't make it up. If the Yankees are more than one game back, they don't make it up. It's a very, very specific window.
I like that.
Yeah, it's
and
kind
it
of
won't
a
be at
good
the Trop.
thing. And it won't be at the Trop. No, they would have to. They would.
Can you imagine a one game decide the division at the Trop?
Never gonna go well.
I mean, if
they're probably gonna do their best to find a time to play today. At some point.
If they cancel today's game and find themselves in a situation where the Yankees are one game back of Tampa after the season ends, don't even play it. Just fire everyone.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Seriously.
It's it. You're done. Stop with this. That would be an epic disaster.
Yeah. At that point, screw it. I'm potentially kind of screwed, because back in July, we're planning a little party on my wife's side, and I was like, they're looking for Saturdays in October. I'm like, October 8th, let's do it. Yankees will have a bye. I won't miss anything. Be chilling. Great. And now we're 3 games up, and I'm like, damn it.
Yeah, because that would be the second or third game of the division
of the
series?
wild card. Yeah,
Or the wild,
yeah.
No, the
well,
wild
it's
card.
the wild card
Right,
series,
right.
which I thought, we won't be involved with that. We're all good. We're 15 games up.
The tarp is actually coming off the field right now, apparently.
Okay.
All right.
Subsided significantly in the Bronx, the rain has, and there's talk about a possible window starting in between 3 and 3:30.
And
3 and 3:30.
and then it's supposed to rain heavily again, like early evening into the evening. So.
Well, we got to start it going on short rest anyway, so they can just play 4 innings and bang it, and then go to the bullpen.
Yeah. I guess you just hope like the Yankees are up 6-0 in the 5th inning and they can just call this thing.
It's crazy because it's raining and football's on, but this is a massive. Like today is arguably the biggest game of the season for the Yanks, and they're starting Herman on 3 days rest as an opener. It's interesting.
Yeah, was that last Sunday in Tampa, the squeak out win 2-1. We called that the most important win of the season. To that point, today is right up there, right? Like you're kind of in the same spot you were last weekend, just with a few.
First pitch scheduled for approximately 3:20, according to the Yankees themselves. So
3:20. Okay.
So after the game, I will be back to either be happy or sad.
me and Andrew are gonna rip the team apart after this game.
Well, Logan, you were pretty fired up after the shit show on Friday night, but did Saturday make you feel better at all?
Yeah, Saturday made me
rally?
feel better. I don't miss a lot of Yankee games, but I wasn't sitting in front of the TV for the first inning, so I was just getting the alerts on my phone. I'm like, what is going on? Like, am I seeing things? Yeah, it made it better. I mean, I think it was a huge win. I mean, I kind of thought it was weird that they couldn't hit Kluber, because I'm big into the fact that the Yankees, when they face good pitching and they have plans going into games, they tend to do better. When they have these young starters that they've never seen before, they go up there and they press and they swing at the first pitch and they don't know what's coming. It's like those 2 guys in Oakland that they couldn't touch, but they go up against Max Scherzer and they go up against these veterans, and even in the playoffs we've seen it. Like, they figure out ways. And for as long as I can remember. So I found it weird, like, they couldn't hit Kluber this year, and it just so happened.
They do struggle against former Yankees, though. Montgomery
true.
shut them out.
That is
Sonny
true.
Gray dominated them last week. I feel like that's something that's been happening, 20 years. Carl Pavano used to come back and beat them. Like, that's something that's always happened.
And Michael Pineda shut him down earlier in the year.
Yes.
He's DFA'd. Is he going to be on the Cashman bargain bin for the offseason?
He was so fat. When he was pitching for Detroit, that was in like April or something. He looked like he was 300 pounds. Like, it was crazy.
Big Mike.
Yeah, Phil Hughes, I think, shut them down when he was with Minnesota.
Yeah, all of them. It's like always.
So Stanton, let's talk about Stanton for a second, because he did pinch hit. He had big pinch hitting situation on Thursday and on Friday. Did not come through in either situation. He struck out in the 8th inning with runners on Thursday on a 3-2 pitch. It was a nasty pitch, nasty breaking ball, but Boone liked his at-bat, thought it was a good at-bat. But then it's like he pinch hits again on Saturday, and it was the 6th inning at that point. I think he pitched it for Cabrera. And finally he starts on Saturday. I'm like, okay, you're pinch hitting him Thursday and on Friday. So if there's any talk about an IL stint, like, you can't retroactive it. What's the difference between pinch hitting and DHing? Honestly, like, what's the difference?
There's no difference. How are you healthy enough for 1 at bat, but you're not healthy enough for 4 at bats? I understand you're healthy enough to hit, not play the field, fine. But he's healthy enough to take 3 swings, but he's not healthy enough to take 8 swings. It just makes no sense.
Yeah, I totally agree. So I'm happy he's in the lineup, and he is in the lineup today. So I think it's the same lineup. I think Boone's just hoping they get 7 hits in a row again.
Yeah.
So that was like one other note from the series. I was, hoping they were going to sweep the Twins, obviously, because the Twins are pathetic, but Carlos Correa once again just, getting the last laugh against the Yankees. Like, I don't know what it is about Carlos Correa, about Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman. Like, I hate all of them with a passion, but you cannot deny that they have balls. They have balls, and especially when they're playing the Yankees.
And fearless at Yankee Stadium. Like, other guys come in, they get nervous. These guys don't give a shit. Bregman's the same way. Springer, when he comes back from the Blue Jays, has hit a ton of bombs against us. These guys are fearless, and clearly the booing and the razzing them just doesn't work. It gets them more fired up and motivated. Yeah, Correa, I think he hit 2 homers against us this series. These guys kill us. I really hope a National League team signs Correa in the offseason. I'm so sick of him.
All right, and the last thing I want to talk about is the rule changes. Today, we're going to talk about the rule changes presented by WynnBET, which is now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. They bring the excitement of the Wynn Las Vegas to online sports betting and casino play. Boosted same-game parlays and live in-game odds on every major sport. WynnBET has what you need. Sign up today and receive a special offer. Bet $50 and win $200 using code XBlueWire. All right, we got some rule changes. They passed them. The players didn't vote on them because, of course, the players' union is just a bunch of a-holes. But we got a pitch clock, 15 seconds with the bases empty, 20 seconds with runners on base. And then the fine print says the catcher must be in position when the timer hits 10 seconds. The hitter must have both feet in the batter's box and be, quote, alert at the 8-second mark. And the pitcher must start his motion to pitch by the expiration of the clock. A violation is by the pitcher is a ball, and by the hitter is a strike. What do you think about the pitch clock?
I like it in principle, but it does seem difficult. I mean, who is going to be counting at the second and looking at this clock to enforce all three of those things? I like it. I think it will speed the game up, but I do think there's going to be sort of an aspect of almost like the neighborhood play used to be, where as long as they're close to the 15 seconds, they'll let it slide. I don't think they want to stop the game every 10 minutes or do one of those penalties if a guy is a second late or whatever.
It will be interesting to see, how strictly they enforce this. Do you remember this is like probably 10 years ago at this point, there was the rule that you couldn't step out of the batter's box or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That thing was never enforced. Okay. Never enforced. So, I mean, I think they're going to enforce this because there's going to literally be a clock in the stadium. So if it's, 2 seconds pass, everyone's going to be like, what the hell? So I think it definitely has to be enforced. Obviously, game time here is the biggest thing. I'm looking up. Do we know average game time? Because I feel like the Yankees game time this year has been a lot better than...
It's been down because Boone had the quote, #PitchCom.
That's what I'm saying. Like they've had their fair share of 3.5, 4 hour games, but they've also had a good number of games under 3:15, under 3. I mean, even under 3, they've had a lot of games, which felt like they never did the past couple of years. PitchCom, I think, has been a factor there. So I guess this will speed it up even more. Pitchers are going to hate it. Pitchers are going to complain about this all season. We're going to hear pitchers complaining about how they get fatigued quicker and how, they're coming out of games sooner, injuries. Like, if some guy to hurt his arm is going to blame this, just like from the Rays. What's his name?
Glasnow.
Blame the sticky stuff for his injury, which he might not be wrong, but that's going to get blamed. Defensive shifts. 2 infielders must be on each side of the second base bag and both feet are on the dirt. So you can't have an overshift. You can't have a short outfielder. I was super happy about defensive shifts last year. The prospect of banning defensive shifts last year. I was like, this is ruining the game. It's just ridiculous. Like, you hit a rocket into the hole and it's an out, blah, blah, blah. And then we did an episode with Brian Kenny at the beginning of this year and asked him about the defensive shifts. And he made the point that all this is going to do is allow GMs more leeway to employ players like Joey Gallo. Because shifts, you do not have to build a team now to beat the shift, right? GMs have built teams to hit over the shift. And now there's no shift anymore. But now Joey Gallo, if his average goes up a couple points, that just is going to give him more of a chance on teams and players like Joey Gallo. And I understood his point a little bit. So until GMs, I think, start building teams differently, I don't know that this whole contact problem is going to go away from defensive shifts.
No, and I don't like the give up or just now we're giving up on players making adjustments. Like, the whole entire point of baseball since the history of time is, defense shifts, you got to figure out how to hit away from the shift. The analytics back and forth and kind of counter moves. I don't like that they're just giving up on that, but I do think it will be good. I think it'll be good for the on-field product. There'll be more action, there'll be more hits, but I don't like the reasoning behind it, man. And I know there's people that say, oh, when it's 99 and moving, you can't just go the other way, but I don't know. Figure it out.
And it is hard. I'm not saying it's easy to just go the other way. but I think there has been a lack of trying to go around shifts, right? Like players and players, but also teams employing players and teams with the mentality, they don't want you to try and go around the shift. They would prefer you strike out trying to hit a home run than you try and hit a ball down the third base line if you're a left-handed hitter.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, Rizzo, you've seen Rizzo try and bunt the ball down the line. I've seen Bryce Harper do it. I mean, some guys will try and take what the defense gives them, but most guys are like Gallo, like you said, like they just keep swinging as hard as they can. So,
and that shifts can be reviewed, which I find interesting. So, can't wait.
I didn't know. That's weird.
Can't wait for the for the review because Jose Altuve's heel was on the outfield grass. And we gotta have that. We gotta have that. That shifting replay for shifts.
It's also a lot more for the umpires to pay attention to. Like, then now they got to be looking at the guy's
more
feet.
Responsibilities.
Right.
Give those morons more responsibility. Pickoffs and step-offs reset the pitch clock. So that's one thing, which is why I think they're limiting it to two per plate appearance. And that also resets if there's a runner that advances. A pitcher can make a third pickoff attempt, but if it's unsuccessful, it's a balk.
That's fine. I'm fine with this. I hate when it's like a guy like Gardner's on first and there's 4 or 5 pickoffs in a row. It completely shuts the game down. I'm actually okay with this one.
So, don't you think this opens the scenario for you tried to pick him off and then like you can't throw over there again, so that just like completely gives away the stolen base?
No, it does, and I guess that could be a negative. But I think stolen bases are something that people want to see more of. I think it's exciting, it's a fun play, and if you have a good catch, I guess it almost forces the pitcher to throw a fastball, is what it does.
Or pitch out. Situation. Maybe there's a strategy where you do 2 lame pickoffs over there, and you don't get them. And then he knows you have to go to the plate, so then that's when you do a pitch out to try and get him to get him trying to steal that way. Bases are going to be larger, 18 inches for safety. So we've got. So I don't know why they don't just do the double bag like in Little League.
Right.
Like one orange, one white. let the runner go through, and so we don't have these stupid collisions and stuff. And then a couple other things. Teams will be granted an extra mound visit in the 9th inning if they've exhausted all 5 of their visits already. And if a team still has visits remaining, that does not apply. Okay, great. Whoever was in charge
5 from innings 1 through 8, and then you get a 6th one in the 9th, basically.
Right. It's just more things to confuse John and Susan.
Do you think these rules like you have a young son? Do you think these rules are going to make the game more appealing to that generation? Like, do you think this will make any kind of a difference?
No, I mean, I'm hopeful. I mean, baseball's my favorite sport. I hope my son loves baseball like I love baseball. But I understand why younger people today don't love baseball. Like, it's not as exciting as football or basketball. I get it. It's like less shit happens. Like, okay. So I guess this, like you said, the shifts will add a few more base hits. Like, that should be good. Maybe if this pitch clock thing moves games and like it's really moving at a swift pace, like we have 2-hour 50-minute games on a regular basis, like maybe that's a start, right?
Yeah, no, that'd be great. I think anything under 3 hours is fine. The interesting thing though is like the average football game is like 3:20,
but it's once a week.
People don't
it's
notice
once a week,
and there's more going on. But no, you're right. It's once a week and it's different. And it's on a Sunday when people aren't doing anything. Yeah. When it's during the week or you got a matinee, 1 o'clock on a Thursday, takes a lot more effort to be a baseball fan.
I mean, that first doubleheader game against the Twins, I know it was extra innings, but like that thing went on forever. And then they had to play another one. It's like, all right, we get it already.
Every time the Yankees have a doubleheader, I feel like one of the games goes to extra innings. Can't make it up.
Yeah.
I totally jinxed it too because we were like getting in the car leaving because I went to the doubleheader and I was like, "Wow, this first game's flying." My dad's like, "Hey, watch it, bud." I was like, we walked in, we heard the stadium go crazy when Ronald Guzman hit a double play, hit into a double play in the 11th inning from the parking lot. We heard it. Yeah. So
it's we said this on the last episode, Nick. I want to get your thoughts. Ronald Guzman is their first base depth in the minors. Like, are you kidding me? Like, this is like
should have
really
just stayed with Greg Bird.
like, what are we doing?
Who was the guy they had last year? That big guy that they brought up for like a week. He's from Texas or something.
Yeah, he got released.
Yeah, I have no idea, but he was. I forget. He was like hitting bombs in AAA.
I do remember. I don't remember his name.
Yeah, it's not coming to me. But yeah, no depth. They don't really have a ton of depth in the minors overall. Other than you got Volpe, you got Dominguez, and a couple other guys. But yeah, they don't really have guys they can just pull up in a pinch.
Jay Bruce started at first base for the Yankees last year. I just figured I'd remind you.
That
guys
was
of that.
last year.
That was last year.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Glaber to Bruce was the worst combination of shortstop to first base I've ever seen.
I'm not exaggerating. I would have guessed the Jay Bruce year was pre-pandemic. I would have thought that was pre-pandemic. That's how long ago
That was
it was.
last year.
He quit. He quit in May. He's like, I suck. I
Yes.
suck too much. Like I'm done. Like, good for you for self-awareness, buddy. Wow, that was last
Chris
year.
Gittins, you were talking
Chris
about. weren't you?
Gittins. That was yes.
That's what I went to look for, but
Home run hitting Gittins or something they called him. Yeah, he dominated the minors and they called him up and he did nothing.
Yeah.
He's gone, I guess.
let's see.
I mean, he probably got DFA'd. I don't know if he accepted
Jackson Frazier was
it.
on the team last year. Every time I see that name, it throws me for a loop.
Jackson, our guy.
He is
Jackson.
a.
Does Jackson Frazier make that Hicks catch down the left field line?
He doesn't look like he's playing this year. I don't see him any. I mean, he must be in like another country or something. By the way, Harrison Bader just had an RBI single in his first at bat.
Nice.
In
All
Somerset.
right.
So, by the way, Somerset shouldn't
we
lose
go.
this week. They have some serious bullpen options down there. But
If Harrison Bader does not turn into the second coming of Willie Mays, Brian Cashman is gonna never hear the end of that Jordan Montgomery trade.
It's just so bizarre though because like Montgomery was not going to do that. He wasn't going to happen here. Like what is St. Louis doing with him that we didn't? Like we have Matt Blake. We got all the money.
he's
in the
throwing his
resources.
14 fastball. Literally,
St. Louis-
that's what he did. That's what he changed.
St.
you ask
Louis
him.
has always been able to develop starting pitching, and I know they didn't develop Jordan Montgomery, but Jordan Montgomery has the tools to be a good major league pitcher, and clearly whatever they're instructing him to do is something better than what Matt Blake was instructing him to do.
Classic, man. It's just so
Yeah,
so classic.
Jordan Montgomery was not going to pitch to a 1.8 ERA with the Yankees like in the rest of the way. Like I understand that. My whole argument was like you're trading away middle rotation depth for a guy that you hope comes back at the end of the year, and maybe he comes back. You know, this might actually Cashman might, you know, the hooded Cashman or whatever the fuck Twitter calls him. This might come and be proven out because if Benintendi's out for the season. And you got Harrison Bader to come back, maybe he just slots in to left field or center. I know he's a center fielder, but in that instance, do you play Bader in left, Judge in center, Cabrera in right? If Stanton can't play the outfield and you just don't want to touch Hicks with a 10-foot pole, it's like, is that your best outfield alignment potentially?
Yeah, it might be because obviously Judge has never played left. Cabrera's never played left. And again, left field, like you said, very deep at Yankee Stadium makes sense for a guy like Bader. Although Cashman did say specifically, he had some stat that 9 of the last 10 World Series teams had a top 3 defender in center, and that's why they made the trade again. They're prioritizing defense. But yeah, it was a bad look. And I think everybody, Jack and I both thought like they had a trade for Pablo Lopez. And it must have fallen through. Like
That's what I thought.
I still don't think they would have traded. Yeah, it didn't make sense.
That's what I thought as well. But like I said, it might actually end up working. Yeah, okay, so they are looking at outfield or center field defense specifically and saying championship teams have elite center field defense.
Yes. Yep.
I get it, but I still think they can win a championship with Judge in center field. Like,
Oh, me too.
like if you need to do that, then I wouldn't be opposed to it.
But yeah, very interesting to trade Montgomery again, rotation depth for a guy that wasn't going to play for at least a month post trade. Very bizarre.
Bader hasn't played anywhere but center field since 2018. Not that it matters all that much, but it was nice having a left fielder in Benintendi. Like I kept saying that.
Oh.
Like the Yankees haven't had a left fielder since Gardner, but Gardner played center field most of the time. They always just threw someone out in left field.
Yeah.
Gallo was a right fielder. Stanton was a right field. It was just like over and over and over again, throwing a right fielder in left field. And
Andujar.
I'm going down like the teams. Was Hideki Matsui the last left fielder on this team?
Well, it was Gardner. It was Gardner.
But like you said, he was a center fielder.
Recently, but he was the left fielder when Ellsbury and Hicks were here, and I classify
Damon
him
started in center and then was a left fielder. Wow.
But I mean, real true left fielder. I mean, I kept saying like it's nice to have a guy that plays left field, not right field, left field. Playing left field.
If you get Benintendi back and you get Harrison Bader playing in the center and you get Judge and right, that's a really good defensive outfield, obviously.
Yes. Oh yeah.
But it's like Benintendi's got wrist surgery. Like I don't know, he might not be ready for the playoffs, and so like in that scenario, I wouldn't be opposed to the other alignment. All right, man, Nick, thank you so much for joining me. Anything else you want to touch on before we wrap up?
Nah, I think I'm good. Let's go get a win today.
All right, thanks. We'll talk to you guys soon. All right, we're back. I'm with Logan to put a bow on the weekend series against Tampa. The Yankees put a nice little bow on the Tampa Rays. 10-4 victory. When I was recording with Nick, we called it potentially the most important game of the Yankee season. Back-to-back Sundays against the Rays. They came out. They dominated them today. I don't know. I'm liking this post Aaron Hicks benching Yankees. Maybe that fired him up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, a ton of good. I mean, I didn't know that they were only going to use him on for 15 pitches or whatever, but I guess that's all you needed. Offense came out and picked up right from where they left off yesterday, which was, I mean, I didn't expect it. I mean, I saw Boone, he ran out the same lineup again, like 1 through 9, exactly the same, and I kind of was like, all right, I kind of want to see Peraza, but I kind of get that. And it worked, so keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much the same lineup was a factor there. I think, I'm joking about the Aaron Hicks benching thing, but Friday night was yet another rock bottom moment for this team. Like you have, I don't think it can be overstated. Like you have the Jeter ceremony and you come out and you just look like absolute crap. Like against the team that's chasing you. Like maybe it was a wake up call. I don't know. I mean, I usually kind of downplay those sorts of things, but Aaron Hicks is a veteran in that clubhouse, definitely a respected guy. He got benched. He just got straight up benched. Maybe that woke him up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, they played bad on Friday, but I've seen them play worse. Sure. They pitched on Friday, and but there wasn't a whole lot of positives to come out of the game. That the lineup again, it was stagnant. And honestly, a lot of people kind of don't love it, the whole Judge leadoff thing, but to me, until someone else starts hitting, you might as well get him as many at bats as you can. So the fact that he didn't hit a home run this series, and they scored 10 runs in back-to-back games. I mean, yesterday it was the singles, and today it was the home runs. But I mean, man, if Gleyber can be who he was in the first half, and Stanton can be who Stanton is, it all changes. It all feels completely different.
Yeah, don't you like that we talked shit on Gleyber in the first part of this episode? Then he shows
up
with two
I'm
dingers
I'm the guy that always says that Gleyber's got a 989 OPS in the playoffs. So
yeah,
I'm the last guy to bench him. I bought a Gleyber Torres jersey the weekend that he hit that first walk-off against the Guardians. Sorry.
Back in 2018.
Way back in 2018, and I always liked what I saw, but
sure.
He's incredibly inconsistent.
Yeah. I mean, going back to that Friday game, they did have 9 hits, but they only had 2 runs. And, I mean, basically call it 1 run because Higgy's home run in the 9th inning, it was meaningless, right? So it's
exactly.
Like you scored 1 run on 9 hits, I guess 8 hits, 1 for 7 with runners in scoring position on that day. And then the script completely flipped. I think they went 7 for 10 on Saturday with runners in scoring position. And then today, I think I was looking at it, they went 3 for 3, but a ton of big home runs early in this game to ice it. And it kind of was like we were chatting back and forth in our chat when they were pulling Litke, and I was like, how are we getting through this game right now? Because the game was still like I think it was at that point it was a 3-1 game, and the Rays had runners on base, in the second inning and you're already going to your third bullpen arm and you're like, all right, are you just crossing your fingers? This is a 5-inning rainout?
Yeah, not to mention that after they pulled Licky and then they put Weissert in, and you're like, all right, like, whatever. Like, they're using their low leverage guys, but like they didn't even Weissert got out of the inning, and then they put Wandy in,
Yeah.
and it was like, how many pitchers are we going to use today? I mean, I kind of, because I just sometimes play negative Yankee fan in my head. I'm like, ooh, like Clay Holmes doesn't have it tonight. Who's coming in? And I went and looked in the bullpen. It was Loizaga and Weber. I was like, ooh, Clay Holmes better have it tonight because it's not going to be good if he doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, it obviously didn't matter, but it certainly could have mattered. The Rays kind of, it almost feels like the wind was taken out of their sails losing on Saturday, because they have such a gauntlet of a schedule coming up. I think they've realized they probably need to sweep this weekend in order to really have a chance to catch the Yankees. I'm not saying it's impossible now, but the 2 out of 3 victory this weekend makes it really, really unlikely.
Yeah, I mean it's 5.5 games now. It's 4 in the loss column, I believe, and
yeah,
I mean, look, if the Yankees can just they have 2 off days this week, which is why they were able to do that with the bullpen today. Nobody really had gotten work, like outside, like they used Loizaga yesterday, but like none of these guys have pitched, so that's why I think a bunch of them kind of looked a little rusty. I mean, Marinaccio gave up a run, Trevino gave up a run, Holmes gave up a run, like. They didn't. I mean, obviously it's a blowout, so you take that with a grain of salt. But like they did look a little rusty, but they got their guys into the game, which I think is important. They have 2 off days this week. You go to Boston. Boston has, anytime you go to Fenway, it's not going to be easy. And Boston's been playing a lot better baseball. I think they might have swept the Orioles. If not, they took 2 out of 3. So the Orioles are kind of floundering. I mean, the American League playoff picture is pretty much set if you look at it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Like playing at Fenway, there's just always the Red Sox lineup at Fenway Park can always be dangerous. So but like the fact that you have an off day Monday, off day Thursday, only 2 games. Are we seeing Severino on Tuesday? Is that the plan?
So no, it's not the plan anymore. The last I saw was that he was going to make one more start down in Somerset, which is just basically a God squad down there now with all the people that are down there. But
that Somerset AA squad better be getting the greatest spread.
Doesn't even.
All that money in that clubhouse right now. You've got Chapman, who has a huge contract, Britton, huge contract. They better be buying those guys everything.
They have Bader down there, Castro's down there right now. Yeah, there's a ton of guys. But he's going to pitch one more time down there, and they're looking to slot him in. So he pitched 55 pitches in his last. So he'll probably be at 70 at some point now. And then he'll go up to 85 in his next start against Pittsburgh at home is what they're hoping for.
Okay, so that's the next homestand.
Yeah, and then obviously I know that they were talking about DJ coming back for that as well.
For that homestand, yeah.
He said earlier that he could he feels better, but he's not going to know until he tries to swing and hit. But he acknowledged the fact that if he can't drive the ball and get his swing off, he's useless. It's not helping anybody, which is right. And obviously we all want DJ LeMahieu back, but I don't want DJ at 20% back.
No, but like, do they have DJ at 70%?
Well, DJ at 70%. Now you gotta play the game. Well, DJ at 70% or Donaldson at 100% this year.
No, but even DJ
even
DJ at 70% can be an asset on a postseason roster. I'm not saying he has to start every game, but
absolutely
he can be an asset on the postseason roster because he can play 3 infield positions, and like if you do need contact late in the game for a pinch hitter, like I still trust him at 70%. But yeah, I mean, the version of DJ LeMahieu we've seen for the large portion of the second half has been pretty negative on this lineup.
I mean, when you start talking about playoff, rosters, it's really interesting because there's a ton of guys.
So many guys to
it's
make
strange.
decisions
I mean,
on.
Look, obviously, if you get everybody back from your injuries, where you have Benintendi and Carpenter and Bader, I guess is really the only offensive players, and DJ and Rizzo, obviously. But like, the pitching and stuff. I mean, I like laid it out. Like, I'm just looking at it right now. Like, I made a roster, and it was like I have 7 guys that probably would be on it for most other teams that wouldn't be on it. Like, it's interesting, and even what Taillon did yesterday shouldn't be overshadowed. I know they scored a lot of runs early, but we've seen it plenty of times where that happens, and the starter does not do that.
Do you know what Taillon did yesterday on Saturday for the first time since June 28th? That was make a start and not give up a home run.
Look,
his prior 7 games, 36 and 2/3 innings, 9 home runs allowed.
Yeah, I mean, he's streaky. He's a streaky pitcher. I mean, he goes on these runs. Last year he won that July pitcher of the month, I think it was. June, July, August, whatever it was. This year he started the season red hot. I mean, he had a sub-3 ERA through the first couple months. And then he goes through these slumps, literally. And, if you catch him on a hot streak, I feel comfortable with that. And not to mention, like, he has no value out of the bullpen. So, I mean, I don't think he's going to get a playoff start. But if he had to, I wouldn't be that mad.
Why does he not have value in the bullpen?
I don't know. I don't see him. I mean, I guess as a long man, but like if it's between him and Human to make a start, I would have him make the start and have Human in the bullpen.
I agree with that, but that's not saying that much.
No, but I mean, think about it like this: if they have Severino back, and obviously Nestor's already back, and Cole, the 4th would be Montas with Taillon and Human. What do you do? Because I don't think it's a lock to be Montas.
Well, the interesting thing is with Severino is you might not have an actual like full starter. So
why? If he's going to throw 80 pitches in his first start back against Pittsburgh, he'll have at least 1 more, if not 2 more, in the regular season. So he'll be there. He'll be at 100 pitches.
I guess so.
But he's got to be effective.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the Taillon thing, like he can still be an effective pitcher and give up home runs. Plenty of good pitchers still give up home runs. It's just, I mean, he was getting crushed in a lot of games, and he's usually gives up a home run in a start. So it was surprising that he didn't give up a home run on Saturday. He's usually good for at least 1 home run.
Yeah. I mean, he definitely is, but like I said it with Cole on in the doubleheader against the Twins. Solo home runs don't beat you. Like, I almost never get mad when a pitcher gives up a solo home run because sometimes you get beat and you make a bad pitch.
Sure.
I mean, obviously, are there situations where you're winning 1-0 or this is a scoreless game late and that solo home run beats you? Sure, but there are times I almost always am like, well, you can't walk the guy ahead of the home run.
Yeah.
Like, that's the problem. So if Taillon isn't putting runners on base and he gives up a solo home run every start, so be it.
But there was a lot of 2-run and 3-run home runs.
Well, that's the problem. But he's been, look, I think I have a little bit more faith in Jameson Taillon than most people.
You're a Taillon guy.
Look, I'm a Yankee guy. I almost never hate anybody on the Yankees.
I don't know about that.
Well, I was giving Andrew on some shit earlier this year, but
So does this series win? Do you think that this team has maybe turned a corner? Because it felt like it did the last. Like I feel like coming out of this series win, kind of feels like they might be turning a corner. Or I'm just hopeful.
They didn't press at all, and that's the difference, and that's why it feels like that. Is because you watch the game and it was like they relaxed. Gleyber's up there, and Gleyber was having great at bats, even though he didn't. He hit the home runs, but those were 2 great at bats. I mean, long at bats, fouling pitches off, staying on pitches. Driving the ball the other way. I know the second home run was pulled, but driving the fastball the other way. And then obviously Stanton, we could hope that home run yesterday off the position player kind of, got him into gear where he can go on a run. I mean, this is what people kind of forget about Stanton is that he can go on a run starting today or yesterday. And it could last until the last day of the World Series. And he can hit 350 and hit a home run every day. Because if you look back to his MVP year, what he did in the playoffs the past couple of years, that's what he did. Like, that's what he does. He goes on these runs that are, like, better than anybody in baseball.
Yep. He had it at the end of last year.
Yeah.
I mean, they only played 1 playoff game, but he did have it towards the end of September. I remember he had a huge series against Boston.
In Boston early.
Yeah, huge series against Boston. You're right. Like, coming out of Tampa last weekend, it did not feel like they turned a corner. It was
like they just the skin of their teeth.
Yeah, it felt like they got lucky and they got by with one win, and that kind of delayed the inevitable. That's the feeling I got. The fact that they won 2 out of 3, they won these last 2 games handedly, and the team seemingly responded to the disaster on Friday night, I think is a positive thing moving towards the end of the season. Now, obviously, you go to Boston and you play like crap, like all everything changes again, and obviously I'm leaving open that possibility. But sitting here this Sunday versus last Sunday, I do feel a lot better about this team, and that's a good thing.
100%, 100%. I mean, now the ball's really in their court. They would have to play really, really shitty baseball to blow a 5.5 game lead with the.
Yeah, because you got no head-to-heads against Tampa anymore, so.
100%, and not to mention like Tampa and Toronto, they're going to cannibalize each other. I mean, they play 8 games. If they each go 4-4, that's a dream for the Yankees.
What is Toronto right now back in the standings?
They're lurking. They're like right there
because they have three more in Toronto. Toronto is 6 back in the standings. They are 5 in the loss column.
Yeah.
So if Toronto basically wins every game basically this next week leading into that Yankee series, then a sweep, then they could tie them probably. But again, that's
looking at this right now, you look at the run differential, right? And I mean the Yankees have a plus 206 run differential. It's still the second best in baseball, and I know it was inflated from the first half.
Come on, look at the last 2 months of the season.
I'm not disagreeing. They terrible. They're a terrible team. But you know what it comes down to with them is that when they hit, and when I look at the last few years, and everybody the pitching. They've only ever lost in the playoffs when they don't hit. Honestly, I mean the games that they get eliminated in. Obviously Cole put them in a hole last year in the wild card game, but you go back to 18, they couldn't score runs against Boston. In 19, they couldn't score runs against Houston late in that series. Garrett Cole came to Yankee Stadium and shut them down. Zach Greinke, same thing.
You're right that ultimately, like, the lack of offense, especially with runners on base, has been the glaring thing that has caused them to lose playoff series. But my argument for 2019 was you had Chad Green start Game 6 of the
100%.
It's like,
100%.
yes, the offense sucked, but at the same time, you didn't have a starting pitcher for Game 6 of the ALCS.
And I mean, not to sugarcoat it for them a little bit, but I mean, Domingo Germán was supposed to start that game, and that was their plan. That was how it was supposed to be, and then he got suspended at the end of that season.
Yeah, but he was already pitching to like a 4.5 ERA in the second half of that season. Like,
no, yeah, but I mean. They could have started. I guess Montgomery would have been the next in line.
I'm not saying they should have started someone over Chad Green. I feel like Chad Green was probably their best option in that scenario. My point was you didn't have really much starting pitching depth, and even the starting pitchers that you did have didn't go past the 4th or 5th inning. So Chad Green had already pitched something crazy like 60 pitches in that series already.
70, yeah. It was crazy. But like even look at 2020, where they had the whole Davey Garcia, Jay Happ situation, Montgomery. But at the end of the day, right, and that's like, all right, well, there's clearly not enough pitching on this team. But at the end of the day, I'll take my chances with the ace on the mound in a Game 5. And he gave up 1 run. Yeah. They lost the game 2-1. So, again, another situation of they didn't score.
But you can't expect to score 10 runs in the playoffs. It's not going to happen. You're going to be facing good pitching. They got 1 run off of the Tampa pitching staff, which is an elite pitching staff, like in that Game 5.
100%, but they only gave up 2.
I know. We're kind of saying the same thing.
Saying the same thing, just differently.
It's like, yeah, you do need to score to win games, like obviously, like to state the obvious, but you can't expect to slug your way to the playoffs. A lot of
I don't believe in the whole you could slug your way there, but you can't
in the
slug your way
playoffs you can't slug yourself through four
100%.
Playoff series
100%.
because you're gonna run into good starting pitching, and good pitching in general. So
yeah, I mean it's really so head scratching for me sometimes. Like they always seem to lose for a different reason during the season. Like these past few months, like they finally do score and then they kind of. Something else goes wrong, but I do think it looks like they turned a corner. I mean, we've said it before. I mean, how many, Donaldson hit that grand slam against Tampa the last time they were in the stadium, and everybody was like, the Yankees are back. And it was like, well, no,
There's been a couple moments that, it looked like they was going to spark something. Ultimately, that didn't happen. So this could be another one of those, right? Like you could say, oh.
Yeah, I mean, but at the end of the day, you don't give you can't give these games back. So you won 2 out of 3 against Tampa. You putting yourself in a better situation going forward. Not to sound like Aaron Boone, but
you kind of sound like Aaron Boone.
Oh God, I long to make a script like in an Excel doc of just things that he says, so I can just recite the press conference.
Our guy, Neil Keefe, he's a friend of the show. He has Aaron Boone bingo. He's got a bingo card with all of his Booneisms that he always puts out.
Like, they're getting really close. I really think they're close. Their pitches were crisp. His stuff was there, but no, they're gonna be. I think they're gonna win this division. And you know what? When you get there, I think their chances as good as anybody. And Rizzo will be back. I don't really have a doubt in that. And I'm going to be optimistic because they just took 2 out of 3 from a playoff team.
That is an optimistic way to look at it. All right, that's going to wrap it up. Again, thank you to Nick for joining the show. Hope you guys enjoyed that portion. Hope you guys enjoy the off day. We'll talk to you in a few.